Introduction to the Uniform Appraisal Dataset, Chapter 3, Uniform Appraisal Dataset, Appendix D. Page 28, the Sales Comparison Approach section. Many of the items on the sales comparison grid also appear in other areas of the form. As such, we will not address previously covered items here in order to limit redundancy. For example, the address in the sales comparison grid must meet USPS standards, and the condition rating in the grid must be C1 through C6, as we have already discussed. Several items on this grid have not been previously addressed in this course, and as such, we will spend some time covering these items. For proximity of comparable sales to the subject, the appraiser is required to enter the distance expressed in miles. Appendix D states this distance is to be based on a straight line between the properties. The direction of the comparable property in relation to the subject must also be indicated. Example, 1.7 miles northwest. Many appraisal software packages will calculate the distance of comparable sales and plot them on a location map. A frequently asked question on Fannie's website addresses the issue of condominium comparables that are located in the same building. The answer states, in part, in cases where the subject property and comparable property are located in the same building, the distance is to be recorded in miles. However, in such cases, a directional indicator is not required. For example, for condominium units located in the same building, the required distance for this field could be reported as 0 miles, 0.0 miles, or 0.00 miles. In the sales comparison grid, the sale price of each comparable property must also be entered in whole dollars. If one of the comparable properties is a listing or pending sale, the appraiser must enter the offering price or contract price as applicable. These requirements apply to all UAD form types. End of page 70%. Page 29, data sources. The appraiser is required to provide the data source utilized for each comparable sale. If using MLS as a data source, the appraiser must abbreviate the MLS organization name or acronym and follow it with the pound sign and the listing number. For example, the Columbus Board of Realtors MLS will be abbreviated as CBR MLS pound. If additional data sources are used that will not fit into this space on the form, the appraiser must provide this additional information in the comments section or in an addendum. The appraiser must also provide the number of days on market, DOM, for each comparable sale. If the property was not individually listed or advertised for sale, the appraiser must enter the numeral 0. If the DOM is unknown, the appraiser must enter UNK. These are requirements that apply to all UAD form types. End of page 72%. Page 30. Sales or financing concessions. The GSEs intend to capture information about both the conditions under which each comparable was sold and any financing concessions that may have occurred. It highlights like the short FHA 3000, and it shows the adjustment of minus 3000, whether it was arm's length or conventional. On line 1 of this section, the appraiser must select the sale type for each comparable property from a list. It is possible that more than one sale type may apply to a particular sale. The appraiser must start at the top of the list and select the first type that applies. From Appendix D, the valid sale types are, and it shows abbreviated entry and sale type. REO for REO sale. Short for short sale. CRT ORD for court-ordered sale. Estate for estate sale. Relo for relocation sale. Non-arm for non-arm's length sale. ARM LTH for arm's length sale. Listing for listing. On the second line, the appraiser must enter the financing type, again from a list, and is then prompted to enter the dollar amount of sales concessions for each closed sale. If there are no sales concession for a particular sale, the appraiser must enter the numeral 0. It shows the abbreviated entry, FHA, and financing type was FHA. VA for CONV for conventional, seller for seller, cash for cash, RH for USDA rural housing, and see instruction below for other appraiser to enter description of the financing type. If the type of financing for the comparable sale is not on this list, the appraiser must enter the description of the financing type within the space allotted. End of page 73%. Page 31, date of sale. When entering the date of sale for comparable properties, the appraiser must identify the property and sales status from the items from the list below. You have status type and you have abbreviation. Active is active. Contract, the abbreviation is C. The status type is expired, the abbreviation is E. Status type withdrawn, abbreviation is W. Status type settled sale, abbreviation is S. Depending upon which item is selected, the appraiser will be prompted to select from additional boxes and enter additional dates. If the property is a closed sale and the contract date is known, the appraiser must indicate S, followed by the closing date, and then C, followed by the contract date. If the appraiser does not know the contract date, UNK must be entered. Note that the dates in this section of the form are formatted in MM/YY format, which is different than most other date entries on the form. And right here it points to S09/19 and then C08/ for contract 08/19. In the above example, the comparable is an arm's length sale which went under contract in August of 2019 and closed in September of 2019. If the property is a closed sale and the contract date is known, the appraiser must indicate S followed by the closing date, and then C followed by the contract date. If the appraiser does not know the contract date, UNK must be entered. Note that the dates in this section of the form are formatted in MM/YY format, which is different than most other date entries on the form. Again, this sounds a bit complicated, but in real life appraisal practice, it is essentially a matter of filling in the boxes as they pop up. If an entry is formatted incorrectly, the software may automatically reformat it, or an error indication will appear on the screen. Into page 75%.